Have you ever heard a love letter that was so honest it was like a kick to the gut? Dear Jock, I loved you, but damn, you never got it together. Boom, tears, tissues, and timeline explosions. This is because Khadiyah K.D. Lewis was more than simply a writer, a farewell letter. As if it were the season finale of a telenovela. Sis unleashed an emotional bomb that has everyone on the internet gripping their chests. Hold on now, what if I told you that this black envelope, which had been sealed and kept for years, held the sort of tea that has the power to shatter a guy and rock a whole fandom? What if that love note contains secrets, regret, and truth that no reality program could ever manipulate in addition to love? And what if Mr. Hare, young Jockwist, the king of the revolution himself, never quite over her? Hold on tight, for what began as a private partying letter has now devolved into a public triangle of love. An unspoken matter with an unexpected turn. KD's partying message simply hit the entire internet with Jocket code. And the real drama has only just started. Darling baby. Let's examine each letter in detail. Do lies one after the other. Imagine this, an envelope in black. Just a name, no stickers, glitter, or clickbait titles. Jay-Z Robinson. Yes, exactly. Youthful athlete. And no, there was no money, no embarrassing photos, no court summons inside. He received worse. Heartbreak and raw hands. From the one woman who remained strong through every wig, a final farewell. A moment of woman and wild ass. Lewis, Kia, Katie. Let me stop you there before you believe this is just another hip-hop breakup and love story gone viral. This was not reality television. This was the actual world. The letter wasn't posted, you see, internet to gain influence. It wasn't sold to the blogs or leaked by a dishonest assistant. For years, this item remained sealed and kept in a private box. And until Katie's brother unintentionally unlocked it during her burial, nobody, not even Jock, knew it existed. Items. Yes, give it time to marinate. And instead of merely crying, the boy fell to the ground when Jock read it. This was more than simply a pinkpin note that said, "I miss you." It was a full-on dramatic Lifetime movie meltdown. Katie's final words were her honesty, her suffering, and her tranquility. "I have always loved you," as stated in the opening line. "I simply had no idea how to express it." Boom. Twitter is on fire. It has already become a crying voiceover fad because of TikTok. Everyone instantly realized that this wasn't closure, which made Facebook Andy's grasp pearls. This was an admission of guilt. However, in order to see why that particular line struck so strongly, you must go back to before the prior to Carly reading through anything. Baby moms came before the side chicks. Let's keep it 100. When Jock had only one woman riding for him, Katie, Jock always had enough of attention. The man has more children than the family tree of Nick Cannon, and more hairstyles than the ones Rihanna wore to the awards show. However, that was in the early 2010s, when he was awash in scandal and club outings. Katie was his anchor, not just his girlfriend. Their business brought them together. The bag, not the blogs, was Katie's focus. Sharp, quiet, and without time for drama. Drama, however, still found her. She fell in love with Jock. Additionally, as Jock the Clown was captured on tape, Katie saw while he mismanaged his public image. She held him down off screen and handled business. Never pleaded for attention. Never responded to the disaster with a clap. She didn't seek attention. After that, she cleaned up, and until it abolished single quotes in 2014, it worked for a time. They were busy creating businesses, making appearances on Love and Hip Hop, and keeping their conflict under wraps. Here's the curse of loving someone, though aloud, and still having love for everyone else. Silence makes you invisible. KD witnessed Jock's nasty interviews, public infidelity, and more women than a Tyler Perry reunion. What did she do? Nothing. No Twitter tirades, no viral interviews, no "I told y'all" moments. She simply walked out. Leaving, however, does not imply letting go. Additionally, Jock wasn't prepared to part with her, neither. They reportedly continued messaging every birthday. He gave flowers. KD continued to use a burner to view his stories. And a Jock, just to check on her. He had many burners. Have you ever loved someone so deeply that you were unable to communicate with them yet could not stop watching them live their life without you? That type of love, yes, Things nearly improved. In 2018, at last, Jock emerges from his baby mom coma. He decided to stop playing. He purchased a ring as well. Yes, complete strategies for proposals. A close pal was informed, "I'm flying to Houston, I'm putting things right." However, he canceled 3 days prior to the journey. Perhaps cold feet. Most likely ego. Fans are still troubled by what he told that pal though. She deserves to be loved by someone who doesn't have to lose her. Take a moment to process that. Because he shut the door on himself just when he had the chance to make it right when it was open. Time, too. He didn't have time to wait. KD received an uncommon disease diagnosis in the beginning of 2024. Something silent. Something harsh. Something real. No posts. No pity party. She said to no one. Desired tranquilly. She began writing during the quiet. Not for fans, not for blogs, nor for resolution. Letters to those who had a genuine impact on her life. Indeed, Jock was at the very top of that list. She wasn't bitter in her letter to him. It wasn't trivial. The list of receipts was not a hit list. It was authentic. "I thought we had more time," she said, "but I've been silently adoring you from the day I walked away." The story suddenly changed direction. This was no tale of Jock's salvation. The internet wasn't prepared for KD's last mic drop. Then the video appeared. Yes, you heard correctly. KD left a video message on a small silver flash drive that was taped with one note, along with the letter. "Press play only when you're prepared to learn everything." Jock didn't exert pressure play for 3 days. He was unable to, and he didn't even get halfway when he did, because everything changed with her next statement. Where were we then? Yes, indeed. Hey, a flash disk. Let's be honest. You'd better have a defibrillator close by if someone sends you a sealed letter and a USB drive with the phrase "only press play when you're ready to learn everything." This isn't a light message. And it was awful for young Jock. 3 days passed before he hit play. 3 full days. He was so afraid of what KD might say. He knew that would be the one thing he couldn't flee from, not because he expected her to assault him. The truth does. The screen then fades in. No glam, no filters. KD is sitting alone in a silent room with, "At last, you opened the box. I thought you would never. Let there be stillness." Because this was no contrived reality TV monologue, Jock allegedly stopped breathing for a moment. The love was this dot of his life, bidding farewell posthumously and in real time. Then she strikes him with the line that pierces the collective chest of the internet. "Although you were never mine, you are the love of my life." There was the sound of Atha. Floor was pounded by a million jaws. She goes on to describe how he had come to her broken by other women, poor choices, and public turmoil, and how she had always put him back together before watching him go time and time again. She doesn't blame him though. She states, "Jock, don't pursue ghosts. Don't change the past. Just live. This isn't about guilt. I'm not haunting you. I'm freeing you." Here's where it gets more juicy than an unscripted reunion episode. Let's face it, that line isn't just for Jock. It's for all of us who have ever tried to cure someone when we were breaking within, as viewers began to weep with Jock. Another voice joined the conversation, not on the video, but on Twitter, when KD's cousin Tamara, who had been silent during the entire ordeal, abruptly sent out one cryptic post. The internet went into FBI mode after just 5 seconds of one tweet, and everyone was saying, "Hold up. You guys are acting as though Jock was the only person she wrote to. Are we referring to a different man?" Because that black package wasn't the only one. It turns out that Katie wrote another letter in her secret journal, this time to a person she called M. In one now viral passage, "You were my wild love," she wrote. "My tender affection was him." Let's pause once more, because that one line completely changed the course of this story. It wasn't only a heartbreaking letter of love to a flawed ex. This was a full-fledged double heartbreak, and all of a sudden, Jock wasn't the only one in mourning. Good question. But who is Marcus D? Before everything came out, he was basically Andy. Jock was a quiet guy in the background. There were no scandals, blogs, or clout chasing, just tranquility. But of course, he was there. Fans dug deep. Posted a picture of Katie sitting at a candle at dinner on her 2021 birthday. It had no fancy remarks, just a single image of her with a man who had the sweetest smile, with the words, "Real peace, real vibes, no clout. Marcus and that guy do red carpets instead of clubs. Scenes, just steady love in the background." The real gut punch is that she never stopped loving either of them, even if Job provided her chaos and Marcus gave her serenity. Marcus, being the low-key man that he is, did not do an interview or go on Instagram Live to cry, but Katie's message to Jock was about finally releasing them both. not about rekindling a romance. Nope, he just altered his Instagram bio. It was only 5 words, with no pictures, hashtags, or tags, and it made me adore her even more. More mature, eloquent, and painful than any public statement Jock could have made. Fans were devastated, and social media was ablaze with responses, one of which read, "Katie's life was a love triangle between disorder and peace, and she silently loved them both." And another, "This isn't even about Jock anymore. Every woman who gave her all without ever requesting recognition is like this." Katie's tale had turned into a mirror for more than just Jock. However, it wasn't over because Jock still had one more thing waiting for him. Just when everyone believed the heartbreak had reached its climax, Katie's family discovered something else, tucked deep in the back of Hera's wedding dress, a couture gown, untouched. Designed in 2019, no engagement, no fiancé, just hope, was in a garment bag in the attic. One handwritten message was inside the box. She wasn't looking on veils. She wasn't organizing a wedding, and she wasn't saying, "I want to be ready if he ever comes back." Let me repeat that. She never stopped hoping, even if she was in a relationship at the time, and that's what broke everyone because she wasn't clinging to the past. Instead, she was getting ready for the possibilities, even if it never materialized. He was unable to talk for hours, and according to sources, he didn't even finish the video before collapsing in his studio while the cameras were still rolling. There was no drama, just a man by himself, interrupted by the woman, who continued to love him after his passing. And as admirers wept and tributes poured in, the world began to wonder a question no one could definitively answer. It was possible for someone to love 2 individuals equally at the same time. We have a sealed black envelope, a farewell letter, a dying video message, and a secret second. Was Katie wrong for never making a decision? Or was she the only one who dared to reveal the truth that we all avoid? If this isn't the kind of plotline that makes Hollywood screenwriters reevaluate their careers, I don't know what is. A lover, and now a custom white wedding dress hidden in an attic for a man who never showed up. And just when you thought it couldn't get much worse, it was more lyrical, more sad, and more emotional, since Jock was still too quiet, which made the silence feel heavier than any post he could have made, while everyone else was sobbing into their phones and quoting Katie's remarks like scripture. A blurry picture of a notebook page was posted to Jock's Instagram story with the phrase, "No tag, no tears, just truth." There was no press release, no vlog, and no camera crew. And there was a brief, unquestionably authentic handwritten poem on that page. Mick said, "You whispered while I roared, you waited while I wandered, and now I wait in silence." The comments section erupted, and fans showered his direct messages with heartbreak. Sobbing emojis and texts like, "We failed, Katie," with titles like "Too Little, Too Late." Other people reposted the poem. But here's the thing, Katie's final farewell turned into everyone's personal anguish. And then the big punch arrived. Jock didn't seek pity, he didn't release an album, he didn't rush to the closest podcast, and he didn't even turn up for a Love and Hip Hop recording. Instead, he vanished for weeks, never showing up at the studio or clubs. Simply disappeared. Rumors began to circulate that he was back in the booth to create a tribute, a full-length memorial record dedicated to KD. Something intimate, something unvarnished. A voicemail purportedly released by a studio engineer said, "Something honest. No ghostwriters, no filters, just the kind of music you make when you're not trying to chart, just trying to cope. This ain't for fans," Jock reportedly stated as he entered the booth. "For the one that stuck by me when I didn't deserve it, this is for her." And fans aren't just waiting there, pounding down, the statement said, transforming a rumor into a commitment. The days. But this is what truly shocked people. Jock was grieving privately, not seeking atonement in public. And this was about closure, not a return. KD's story triggered a full-fledged debate over whether a woman can love. And in a world when every apology comes with a promo code, that type of silence feels different. Of course, the internet remained nasty. Then came the viral statement that unleashed a new wave of chaos. Could Jock peace? In just 48 hours, that one line was reposted more than 200,000 times on various platforms. Jock had her disarray, but both of them had her heart. And she had none of theirs when it mattered. The reason for this is because many identified with KD, the woman who gave, the woman who waited, the woman who loved both men unconditionally and still chose to write a farewell letter rather than exchange vows. And speaking of Marcus, Jock was silently spiraling. Marcus didn't do anything, no interviews, no Instagram lives, not even a Repost of a story until he did the most Marcus thing he could think of. He shared a picture of Katie's favorite spot in her living room. A straightforward black and white snapshot. A teacup rests on the table, a candle is lit, and the caption reads, "Peace isn't loud, but it lasts." The internet abruptly divided once more, with one side declaring, Marcus was the one, he cherished her, correct? The other, despite the pain, Katie was always Jock's. However, no one wants to acknowledge this. Katie didn't request to be picked. She accepted the possibility that she would never be, and in the only manner she knew how, she decided to leave love behind. Finally, quietly, fully. Perhaps it is the true tragedy, because when you take away the fan theories, flash drives, the love triangle, and the what you're left with, after funeral murmurs, is a lady who loved more quietly than any of the men who claimed she ever did in public. Now, all we have are fragments, letters, videos, an unworn wedding gown, and a studio mic listening to a man sing about his regrets. Insiders say the album is named Black Envelope, but Jock has not announced when it will be released. Additionally, you may be made of concrete if that doesn't emotionally destroy you. She Waited, Attic Dust, The Dress, and Soft R among the purported track titles. Love. If I Had Stayed, The Devastating Closer, and Wild Love Interlude. This isn't music, people. Fans are prepared to dissect this eulogy line by line, lyric by lyric, and tear after tear. Let's leave you with one last enigma though, before we go any farther, because the family discovered one more recording right after we believed we had seen and heard everything. 2 weeks prior to Katie's death, Marcus received a voicemail on his phone. "Tell Jock that you appreciate his love for me, even when he didn't know how," she stated, "and tell him I never stopped. That's all." After 10 seconds and a last breath, everything was different once more. Because even though it was ugly and unpleasant for her, love was still love.